Hello to all my dear followers. I want to welcome you to a new chapter of the fanfic What If Naruto Mastered All of Minato's Jutsus. Always remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons if you want the next chapter. Without further ado, enjoy.
Alright everyone, you will now have a whole month to train and prepare for the third ANF final test. As you may have noticed, it will follow a tournament-like structure. Hiruzen said to the genin who had gone past the preliminaries. So wait, does that mean only one genin will be promoted? Temari asked the question that was circulating in the genin's minds. Not exactly a panel of jonins, and your respective kages will mark your performance. Anyone up to the mark will be promoted to chunin. Hiruzen calmly replied. So that means everyone can become a chunin. Temari said as an afterthought. It does, but it also means that no one will gain promotion. Hiruzen bit back to stop the genin from getting overconfident. There was a general murmur among the genin before Hiruzen continued and said, now run along all of you. We shall meet each other in a month's time. With that, all the genin left. Soon teams 6, 7, and 11 met up and began deciding their training for the next month. Alright guys, I will be training both Mito and Narumi and have asked Jiraiya to assist me. Hinata will be with her clan, so it checks out. Naruto, do you need any help? Kushina explained her plan and asked. Not exactly, I have a plan for the month and I can do it alone. I won't even need Itachi-sensei's help. Naruto calmly replied. Are you sure, Naruto? Itachi asked in a monotonous voice. However, if you knew him well enough you could see the worry on his face. Yeah, I am. In fact, I will be out of the village for a month in a secret training ground that I found a while back. Naruto calmly answered. Itachi accepted and nodded as he knew that Naruto had something big planned for the finals, and it was something that would shock everyone. He was brought out of his musings when Mito asked Naruto. Ni-chan, come on, tell us, what are you going to train in? She said as Narumi and the rest of the genin looked on curiously. Naruto chuckled before he patted Mito on the head and with a wink said, secret. Mito and Narumi both pouted but let it go. It was then that Kakashi spoke and said. I will be training Sayuri for the month. Hopefully she will be more than ready for the exam by the end of the month. He said as Sayuri nodded in approval. Everyone nodded and went their separate ways, but before leaving Naruto slipped Itachi a paper that made him go a white and blush at the same time. Sensei, go tell Iam and that Kumo Jonin how you feel for both of them. If you don't and they find out by any other source, aka me, it will be disastrous, so put on your game face and make me proud. Sighing, Itachi summoned a crow and said to him, go bring both Yujito and Iam to the Hokage monument. I need to speak to both of them. The crow nodded before disappearing in a poof. Itachi sighed before he made his way to the Shodaime Hokage's face. After a few minutes of wait, Yujito appeared in a shushin and looked at him with a confused look that only increased when he mouthed of wait. A few minutes later Iam was seen running up to the duo. Itachi looked at both of them blankly before he began his explanation of how he fell for Yujito during their chunin exams and then later on for Iam when she cooked. He came in blunt and straight with his feelings. He told them that he loved both of them equally and wasn't able to stop his heart falling for them. He ended his confession by saying that he understood if they hated him and would not hold it against them if they wanted to leave. However, both of them then moved up to him and simultaneously moved up to and kissed on the cheek. In that moment no words were said. A mere look into each other's eyes was enough to relay what they felt for each other. Itachi then grabbed both of them and disappeared in a crow shushin. From a distance Naruto and Samui were watching the trio with a grin and a smirk. You are right, that was cool. Samui said with a small smirk. I told you so, didn't I? Look at how happy our senseis were. Naruto said with a trademark grin. Anyway, let's go. You have to give me a massage and tomorrow we will have to begin our training. Are you sure we won't be able to meet up during the month? Samui asked him as she stood up and left. Positive I won't be in Konoha and you will be training as well. So it should be fine. Make it to the finals. Alright, I will be waiting. Naruto said with a grin as both of them made way to his home. The next day, with Kakashi and Sayuri. So then Sayuri, in this month we will be focusing on improving your speed, taijutsu and finally increasing your jutsu arsenal with elemental jutsu. We will first find your affinity before we go to JUTSUS. Are we clear? Sayuri smirked with a HN and then immediately went into her taijutsu stance and both of them began the training. With Hinata. Hinata, since your match and attitude, the elders have decided that it is now time for you to move on to the more advanced techniques. I will be training you personally in how to create them. The techniques we will be working on will be the Kaiten, the air palm and 8 trigram 32 fist. I won't have you slacking, are we clear? Hayashi asked. Hi to Sama. Hinata replied as she thought of ways to seek revenge on Naruto. He had threatened and almost harmed her for a worthless branch member. He deserved the worst punishment possible in her opinion. From afar Niji was watching as he took another scroll and was going to practice it. He smirked as he knew 2 things. 1, that he had found a friend in Naruto, and 2, he was well ahead of the Hyuga heiress. The current technique he was going to train in was 8 trigrams 128 fists. And Futon Kaitan. With Kushina and our adorable twins. So in this month I will be teaching you how to summon and one of your father's signature techniques, the Rasengan. Along with that I have picked up a new taijutsu style that will match your personalities as it deals with a direct assault. It's called the Goken style. Kushina informed the twins, who nodded before they created 20 clones each and started going through the katas that had been given to them by Kushina. With Naruto. Alright, let's get this over with. Naruto said to himself before weaving through hand signs and shouting summoning jutsu. In a puff of smoke an elderly-looking toad appeared. He was one of the elders and the one who had given the contract to Naruto when he was a baby. It was Fuscasa. Or more commonly known as Pa. So Naruto-chan, why have you summoned me? Pa asked. Hey Pa Gigi, I wanted to ask you to start my senjutsu training. I want to be able to use Sage Mode in months' time. Naruto told him. So it's that time already, huh? Very well, you have grown tremendously since you started training, and I agree that this will be a viable next step for you. I will going back. Kichi will reverse summon you in about an hour. We will begin then. Pa told Naruto, who nodded in agreement. Naruto smirked as Pa poofed away. Next month was going to be awesome. His real name, heritage and status as the Toad Sage would soon revealed, and then everyone will know what they missed out on. Including his mother. He may have forgiven her, but the scars he had gained because of her were still there. It would be a long time before trust settled in between the two of them. The stage was set. All the VIPs had arrived and were waiting. Both the Reikage and the Kazekage were sitting in the Kage box with Hiruzen. Clans were sitting together in the shinobi section. With the civilians taking up the rest of the seats. All of the rookies were waiting in the candidate box looking forward towards their matches. All of them had trained to the bone and had mastered all of their Inten techniques. However, one thing that no one knew was, where was Naruto? He hadn't appeared and the matches were about to begin. Where is Oni-chan? I hope he makes it on time. Mito worriedly said. I am sure he will be here. He won't keep his sisters waiting. Narumi replied in her usually bubbly tone. Just then Genma, the proctor for the 3rd exam, stepped forward and said hello and welcome to the 3rd and final part of the Chunin exams. I would like to call Narumi Uzumaki and Naruto and Uzumaki to please come and get us started. Narumi in her usual persona jumped down and waited for her brother, however there was no sign of him. They waited for 5 minutes and there was still no sign of him. Genma then started, since Naruto and Uzumaki isn't pre. However, before he could finish there was loud puff and the room was filled with smoke. All the shinobis were on guard expecting it to be some threat. Hiruzen, Jiraiya and Kushina themselves were wondering what it was. It was then the smoke at the top cleared and standing there with his hands folded, and with a smirk on his face, along with wearing a white cloak with red flames at the edges, was Naruto. Soon the rest of the smoke cleared and Naruto was seen standing on top of the boss of the Toads, Gamabunta. This caused whispers to break out everywhere. That's Gamabunta-sama, what is he doing here? Is that the Yondaime? No, you idiot, that's Naruto. Naruto then jumped of Gamabunta's head before landing in front of shocked Narumi. Naruto smirked at her before turning to Bunta and saying, thanks for the ride boss, I will summon you later. Bunta nodded before disappearing in a puff. Naruto then turned to Genma and said, I am not late, am I? Yondaime Sama you're alive? Genma stuttered out in shock. Nope, I am not the Yondaime. The name's Naruto Namikaze. The Yondaime's legacy and the new generation's Toad Sage and the future Hokage. Naruto said with a grin. As he said that, several of the civilians looked shocked. They knew the Toad Elders wouldn't choose a demon to be their summoner. Along with that, he was bought here by Gamabunta, who was the Yondaime personal summon. His claim was looking true. Most of the shinobi couldn't believe it, the resemblance was uncanny. All of them started mentally berating themselves for not recognizing the similarities. In the Kage box, both the Kazekage, aka Orochibimaru, and Raikage looked on in shock. The Raikage turned to Hiruzen and said, damn, you really hit him well, didn't you? That I did. Though the boy takes a lot after his father, he figured out his identity on his own when he was 5. Hiruzen said. You sure have a lot of talented genin. Specifically someone trained by Jiraiya must be strong. Orochimaru said. Oh, you are mistaken, he hasn't been trained by anyone. He has made it this far on his own. Anyways, let's get to the match. Hiruzen said as the other two Kage nodded. Back in the arena. Proctor-san, can I ask for a slight change in the matchups? I suggest a team battle. Team 7 versus Team 11. Naruto said with a grin. Genma helplessly at the Hokage, who after a few minutes of contemplation nodded. Genma then cleared his throat and said, ladies and gentlemen, we will have a slight change in matchups. Match 1, Naruto Namikaze vs Hinata Hyuga, Mito Uzumaki, and Narumi Uzumaki. Both Mito and Hinata also jumped into the ring and faced Naruto. Mito then irritatedly said, Nai-san, are you sure you want to face all three of us at once? We know you are strong, but the three of combined are one of the best teams in Konoha. Yup, that's why I asked you. So that the results of the next matches don't affect your teamwork. Now I want you three to go all out and don't hold back. That includes you using your special chakra. Naruto said. In the stands asterisk. Do you think you will be okay? Kushina worriedly asked. Itachi remained quiet at the question. He did not know how strong Naruto had gotten, so he couldn't assure Kushina that he would be fine. Jiraiya on the other hand was grinning. Oh, the Gaki will be fine. He called himself a Toad Sage, that means he has completed his Senjutsu training. If he has, he could probably take on most of our Jonins and still win. Jiraiya said with a grin. Kushina and Itachi both looked on in shock. If that was indeed the case, the tournament might as well be cancelled and the trophy be given to Naruto. Kushina did the only thing she could think of. Standing up from her seat, she shouted, Go Hinata-chan, Mito-chan, Narumi-chan. Fight O Naruto-kun. Back in the arena, asterisk. The 4 genin blushed at the cheer before all of them got their game faces on. Narumi and Mito both entered their one-tailed states. Whereas Hinata coated her hands with beast-shaped chakra. All 3 of them then looked at grinning Naruto. Suddenly the grin on Naruto's face vanished. He adopted a battle-hardened look and closed his hands before clapping his hands together. Suddenly his eyes turned orange and a red line extended from his eyes all the way to his neck. He then opened his eyes, and which now resembled a toad's. Jiraiya's eyes widened in shock. He then said, Gaki sure outdid himself, mastering Senjutsu completely. Even I didn't complete it. I can only use it thanks to my seals, but I didn't see any on him. What a kid. Seeing that everyone was ready, Genma shouted, begin. In a burst of speed, Naruto jumped at the 3 girls and brought a vicious punch towards them. They dodged it. The ground had cratered itself upon contact, shocking everyone in the arena. The 3 girls then looked at each other before all 4 genin disappeared in flashes of speed. Shockwaves of force appeared all around the arena. Soon they stopped when a solitary figure crashed into the wall. Naruto then climbed out of it. Before cracking his neck and saying, That was really good, you guys really are the #1 genin team in Konoha. But I guess I should get serious. Spiral release spiraling sphere tri-blast. In the palm were 3 fully formed Raisengans. He then launched all 3 of them at the genin. Narumi and Hinata had dodged theirs, but Mito had taken a hit, causing to fly back into a wall and groan. Knowing they needed to buy time, Narumi immediately went through a set of hand signs and shouted earth-style spiking ground jutsu. Spikes erupted from the ground and made their way towards Naruto, who promptly dodged them and started running away from them while Hinata got Mito back online. The three of them regrouped just as Naruto had smashed the spikes that had pushed him into a corner. Hinata looked at her teammates and said, "He is just as good as me in taijutsu, maybe even better. I think we should go with a long to short combo. You guys bring in the fire, I will bring in the water." Both Narumi and Mito nodded before both of them went through different hand signs. Fire style great fireball jutsu. Mito shouted. Wind style great breakthrough. Narumi shouted as the wind supplemented the fire, causing it to grow outrageously. Naruto quickly went through hand signs of his own and shouted water style water dragon jutsu. A giant dragon of water appeared before it crashed into the fireball, causing it to cancel out. However, before he could rest, he created two clones that quickly took on Hinata's attack, giving him enough time to hit her with a Rasengan that sent her flying into the wall unconscious. Naruto then turned to both of his sisters and took a hummingbird stance. While his sisters both stood in the opposite direction, having the stances of the whirlpool style. All three of them attacked in bursts of yellow and red. Kushina couldn't help but smile proudly at the display. Her kids were ripping the stadium apart with their moves. They had grown up well. She stood up once again, and this time Kushina joined in as she shouted cheers for her children/godchildren. It was then that both Mito and Narumi went to the next step and entered their two-tailed states. This boosted not only their strength but also their speed and healing ability. This change surprised Naruto, and it caused him to get hit by a strong kick that sent him crashing into a wall. He groaned a little before cracking his neck. It seemed he needed to up his game if he wanted to win. Activating his Sharingan, he decided to even the playing field. Using his eyes, he was able to keep up and counter the attacks of his sisters. However, they were moving way too fast for him to attack or fire jutsus. Deciding that it was the best time to go all out, Naruto quickly activated his chakra chains that erupted from the ground and captured Mito. Naruto rushed over to her and applied a chakra-suppressing seal on her before knocking her out. Naruto then panted slightly. Using all three of his powers at once was slightly taxing, but after the match he could always use his senjutsu to recover. That was one of its biggest advantages. "So Naru-chan, you are the only one left, wanna continue?" "Sure thing, Nikon," she replied in her bubbly voice. Both of them then engaged in a fast-paced taijutsu battle. The rookies along with their senseis were all looking on in shock. I can understand the other three as they were trained by Kushina-sama, but how the hell is Naruto so strong? Kurenai asked in a shocked tone. That Nai-chan is because he has been self-training using his father's notes ever since he was 5. He reached this level nearly on his own. The only training I am aware of his before Itachi became his sensei is that Hokage-sama gave him 2 jutsu scrolls a year and evasion that I taught him. The rest he has achieved on his own. He is a real prodigy even among prodigies. Anko answered with a proud smile as she saw her younger brother figure rip it up. This Gaki really takes the cake, doesn't he? Asuma stated after puffing his cigarette. So troublesome. Shikamaru said. But he was so weak in the academy, how is this possible? Ino argued. He never took the history seriously, since for him it was a complete waste of time. He spent time building up his practical skills. The only genins in Konoha who can beat him in a straight-out fight are me, Lee and maybe Niji. The rest of you want last minutes against his full strength. Look at the match, those three were the higher echelon of the class but are still losing even though he was outnumbered. Aizen answered with his usual goofy grin, causing all the genins sitting to gulp. Back to fight, asterisk. Ooria. Narumi shouted as she punched forward. Hiya. Naruto yelled as his fist connected with Narumi, causing a crater TK form by the mere force of the punches. Both of them disengaged and started a battle of jutsus. After throwing around jutsus for a while, Naruto decided to end it and summoned 2 shadow clones. All 3 Narutos started going through different sets of hand seals, with all of them ending with the same seal. All three of them shouted wind, water, lightning-style dragon/wyvern jutsu. Collaboration art tri-elemental dragon jutsu. A colossal winged dragon with 3 heads appeared before it roared and attacked Narumi, hitting her head on. The Kyuubi's chakra prevented her from getting hurt, but the force of the jutsu was enough to knock her out. Naruto then turned of his Sharingan, deactivated his Sage mode and chains before panting. The crowd was quiet. They had never seen a jutsu quiet like that. Kushina knew that the girls would be fine thanks to the Kyuubi chakra, and because of that shouted Naruto-kun, well done. As soon as she did that, the crowd started cheering. It was a wonderful display of skill, tactics and abilities. Naruto, who was still panting, raised a fist in acknowledgement. He then went over to Mito and removed the suppressing seal on her. He then went over and checked Narumi for any injuries. He was worried as that was his current strongest jutsu. He then smiled knowing that she was just unconscious. He kissed both her and Mito on the forehead before helping the medical staff take them to the infirmary. In the Kage box, asterisk. Who would have thought that his son would be growing up to be this strong? That lightning jutsu specifically was something amazing. Who created that? Asked the Raikage. I think it was Naruto himself who did. He is very talented in ninjutsu and has added a lot of jutsus to our index. Hiruzen replied, causing the Raikage to look surprised. On the other hand, Orochimaru was seething. He knew that as things stood he had near zero chance of success. The Namikaze brat could take on and beat Jonins. Along with that, the Raikage was looking friendly. Not to mention having 3 S-class shinobi in the village was detrimental. He was sure that Kushina would be able to break his barrier since that was her speciality. He needed the Sharingan and there were more than one ways to get it. He discreetly signaled his second-in-command to abort the mission and send everyone back as the odds were way against them at the moment. So Hokage Dano, would it be possible for us to get that jutsu? It is a lightning one and we are from the lightning country. The Raikage said. I am afraid I cannot answer that. You may ask Naruto after the exams though, since it is his jutsu. Also, who do you think will win this tournament? Hiruzen said and asked. I am sure my daughter Samui will be in the final. And since young Naruto is already in the semis, I think they will duke it out. Though I don't know who will be the winner. She like him is Kumo's strongest genin who was personally trained by me. The Raikage answered. I wouldn't bet on that my son will emerge winner. Orochimaru said as the disguised Kazekage. What he did not know was that Hiruzen knew all about his plan. Unbeknownst to him, he and Danzo both had mobilized their umbus and currently they were disposing all of the summoning arrays and killing all of the hiding nin. We shall see. Now what do you think, do they deserve promotion? Hiruzen asked. I'd say so, yes. All 4 of them displayed strategy, teamwork and skill. So I say yes for all 4 of them. The Raikage said. I agree. Orochimaru said as Hiruzen nodded and waited for the next match to start. Will Sabaku no Temari and Nara Shikamaru please come down to the floor? Ginma called out as Temari jumped and used her fan to glide down before she landed and started standing next to the proctor. Several moments passed and the Nara hadn't appeared until finally he fell and landed in the ring with a muttering of troublesome blonde. He got up and strolled over to face the fan-wielding Kunoichi. If the last match was a match for the people who loved the flashy and combat-oriented side of being a ninja, this match was for the tacticians, with Shikamaru using brilliant strategies to eventually trap the blonde in his cage main jutsu. As he put her up to force her surrender, he shocked both her and the stands by giving up, stating that he did not have enough chakra to continue and it was way too troublesome all the same. Stands with rookies. That lazy bum. What does he think he's doing giving up like that? Ino yelled. That's just Shikamaru, I guess he just got too lazy to continue, Choji said, enjoying yet another packet of chips. Kage booth. Well, that was most interesting, the old Hokage stated. Yes, you have some gifted genin this year, Hokage Dano, although I can see the legendary laziness of the Nara clan is still evident even in the next generation, the Wind Shadow stated, producing a chuckle from Sarutobi. Ah, he us juist kike his father. I still remember the exams in which I met all of them for the very first time. Me and Minato became rivals for the first time during those matches. I said in reminiscent tone. Back in the arena, asterisk. Will Rock Lee and Gaara of the Sand please enter the field? Genma called out. Yosh, now I can show everyone just how brightly my flames of youth burn, the energetic thick eyebrow ninja yelled. Go get 'em, Lee Guy said to his miniature, striking his famous nice guy pose. The match was a real eye-opener on the mysterious redhead's ability. Nothing Lee could do would get past the sand, blocking his attacks from hitting their mark, and Gaara just looked on with his arms folded, slightly amused at the Leaf Ninja's efforts to hurt him. That is quite a skill. An unpenetrable defense. Well, let's see how does Lee react. He can't be this weak considering who his sensei is. Naruto thought as he returned from the medic bay. Lee, take them off, the voice of Guy rung out. Are you sure, sensei? You told me never to take them off unless a comrade was in danger, Lee replied. I give you permission, now take them off, Guy ordered as Lee began reaching down to his leg warmers. So he was holding back, I wonder how much of an effect will it cause. Naruto was then brought out of his thoughts after hearing a loud thud. Focusing on the arena, he saw that the ground where the weights had landed were now cratered. He looked on surprised when Lee's speed had skyrocketed. Impressive. The only way I'd be able to even stand a chance against that speed is if I removed all of my seals and used my eyes from the beginning. The blonde thought as he watched Lee. With his now enhanced speed, he was able to get through the passive defense of the sand and land hits on the unstable Suna ninja. This continued for some time, but despite how hard Lee tried, Gaara still remained standing, deciding to go in for a match-winning move. Lee opened several of the 8 inner gates and charged Gaara, performing the hidden lotus before shakily getting to his feet. Amazing, this guy can use up to 5 inner gates. I have no doubt that we fought I'd have to go all out to win. I can see how Aizen lost to him. The blonde thought, but was shocked when Sand rushed out and grabbed Lee around the ankle and wrist, crushing it before moving to spread across his body. Impossible, were the thought of almost everyone in the stands as Gaara lay on the floor with his face cracking and parts dropping off what appeared to be a condensed layer of sand. Naruto was about to jump down and help his fellow Konoha Nin, but was not as fast as Guy, who knocked the sand off his pupil before taking him over to the medics. Gaara won the match because of the interference, but it didn't matter to him. He was angered that he had been denied a kill. He then turned to look at Naruto with a crazed look as he radiated of bloodlust. Naruto was looking at him passively before he released his ki completely, which outmatched Gaara's bloodlust and caused him to look away. Naruto smirked at the victory before turning his attention to the rest of the matches. Will Rin of Konoha and Karui of Kumo please make it to the arena? Genma announced. Both the genin jumped over the rails and faced each other, taking the opening stance of their respective kenjutsu styles. As soon as Genma's signal began, both of them rushed head-on and engaged in a kenjutsu battle. Being at her full strength, Karui quite easily got the upper hand on Ren. He was unable to keep up with her face and was soon slashed in the back, which caused him to lose his balance and stumble forward. Karui took full advantage of this and attacked Ren. She then hit him hard on the neck before knocking him out. Winner Karui of Kumo. Will Samui of Kumo and Dosu of Oto please enter the field? Genma announced. Samui, who had seen Naruto's strength, wanted to finish the fight as soon as possible, which was why she decided to go with a surefire kill from the very beginning. As soon as the match was signaled to begin, her body was coated in lightning. She disappeared in a much faster pace than original precedent and got behind an unsuspecting Dosu before knocking him out. The shinobi jonin were very shocked to be able to use the lightning armor, and that too at such a young age required exceptional talent. You have a very prodigious daughter, Reikage Dano. It will be an interesting match if she and Naruto meet in battle. Hiruzen said with a smile. Indeed, it will be interesting. The fabled lightning armor versus the legendary senjutsu, now that's a match I want to see. The Kazekage added, damn, he would make a good vessel, but his senjutsu and the agility to summon a boss-level animal will make it literally impossible. I think it's best for me to focus Sayuri. I will go with plan B and send the Sound 4 to get her after the exams. Orochimaru thought. Had the legacy of the Yondaime Hokage versus the daughter of the Yondaime Reikage an interesting rivalry, don't you think? The Reikage said with a chuckle. I was not like his father, he knew the value of peace and was willing to complete a treaty with Konoha. Also, he was sure his daughter would like being able to spend time with this Naruto boy. After all, from what Yujito told him, they had feelings for each other but both don't know how to project them. Now I would like to call Sayuri Uchiha and Shino Aburame to the stage and fight. Genma announced. Shino arrived, however there was no sign of Sayuri, who after was right now in protective custody at the ANBU headquarters as a fail-safe for Orochimaru's plan. They waited for a few minutes, after which Shino was announced to be the winner. Alright, we will now have a 60-minute break, after which we will begin our quarterfinals. The matchups will be as follows. Samui of Kumo vs Shino of Konoha. Karui of Kumo vs Gaara of Suna. Naruto Namikaze and Temari of Suna will take part in the first semi-final after the quarters are done. Thank you, we shall reconvene in an hour. Genma announced before he left the field and joined the other jonins. For the first quarter-final I would like to call Samui of Kumo and Shino Aburame from Konoha. Genma announced after the 30-minute break was over. Shino took the scenic route to enter the arena. As he made his way, he thought of possible outcomes in this match. His earth affinity along with the clan-related jutsus he knew put him at a natural disadvantage versus Samui, who was masterful with her lightning. Not to mention he could not keep up with her in terms of speed since he was himself a long ranger. He did think that if he covered Samui with his bugs he'd be able to win, but he immediately beat that thought out of his mind when he remembered her lightning armor. His bugs wouldn't survive a surge like that. So he turned to the proctor and did the most logical thing he could do at that time. Excuse me, I would like to forfeit. Why? It's because my earth affinity and bugs are at a natural disadvantage versus her lightning. I won't be able to keep up with her pace since I am a long-range type, and finally a single surge of lightning will kill my hive. Shino said. The proctor blinked at him as he thought, damn, just like Shibi himself. Before saying match over, winner by forfeit Samui of Kumo. Genma announced. Shibi nodded in acknowledgement. It was a good call on his son's part. Now to see if his friends would call him a coward. He was surprised when Naruto came up to him and they talked. As he had a bug on Shino, he was able to hear the conversation. That was a good decision, Shino, don't beat yourself up too much. You can always take this exam again. Naruto said as Aizen nodded with a big grin and Yakumo just smiled. Shino gave a smile in thanks as Genma made the next announcements. Will Karui of Kumo and Gaara of the Sand please make it to the field? Genma said. As Karui jumped into the field and Gaara appeared in a sand shushin. Genma then eyed both of the competitors before signaling them to begin. Karui sprung into action and raced towards Gaara, continuously slashing with her sword, but Gaara's automatic defense protected him against all of the attacks. Karui was then growing slightly frustrated before she jumped back before shouting lightning style lightning wolf. A giant wolf made of lightning attacked Gaara, who just jumped away before he pointed his hand at Karui and shouted sand shuriken. Several giant shurikens made of sand flew towards Karui, who dodged two of them before cutting one with her sword. She then channeled a little of her lightning chakra and increased her speed before she started a omnidirection assault on Gaara. But the attempt was again foiled by Gaara's ultimate defense once again. He then gained a maniacal grin before sending several tentacles made of sand. She dodged the first three before the four got her. Gaara then used his tentacles to bring the girl towards him. As soon as she was in front of him, Karui exploded, zapping Gaara with electricity, showing that it was just a clone. Gaara, who took the full brunt of the clone, was blasted back. Karui used this opportunity to have a soldier pill before she weaved through hand seals before shouting lightning style lightning dragon jutsu. A giant lightning dragon sparked into existence before it crashed into AA, shocked Gaara, knocking him out. Just then there was slight rumbling sound and a towering figure appeared. It was the one-tailed Tanuki. Finally I am free. He. I will start by killing all of you here. However, immediately a set of golden and blue chains appeared from the ground and held the Tanuki in place. The golden chains were Kushina's while the blue ones were Naruto's. The Ichibi struggled as he shouted, what the hell is this? Naruto, who was visibly struggling to keep hold of the Biju, said, do your thing, sensei. Itachi nodded and stepped forward and stared into Shikaku's eyes. His Sharingan transforming into its Manjikyu variant. He then said, Tsukuyami. In a could of seconds Shikaku's form began disappeared as it was sucked back into Gaara's form. Naruto then jumped down into the arena in front of Karui, who was about to strike Gaara, and said, "Don't kill him." "And why shouldn't I? He is a monster. It was lucky we have 2 of the 3 things that work on Biju's, otherwise we would have been toast." Karui retorted back. "The only reason he escaped was because the seal was shitty. Something I intend to fix." Naruto then turned to a panic-stricken Gaara who was pushing back while he shouted, "Stop, I won't let my existence be diminished. I am not going to hurt you. I know how you feel. The feeling of being unwanted, unaccepted. I know how you feel since I was treated the very same way in this village." Naruto softly said in a very honest voice. Gaara looked Naruto with a surprised look before he whispered, "How are you this strong? Why don't you hate the villagers?" "Oh, I hate them all right. They couldn't even tell that I was the Yondame's son despite looking just like him. But I will fight to protect them because that is what my dad did as he died. I will honor his legacy by becoming Hokage and taking the mantle of the protector from him. Also, I had many precious people who became the beacons of light in my dark life, guiding me along. My sensei, my surrogate sister, my grandfather, my friends, everyone helped me through. I am strong because I fight to protect them." Naruto honestly said as he sat down next to Gaara while the rest of the stadium watched. The people still were getting over the fact that Naruto was the Yondame's legacy, looked down in shame as they remembered everything that had happened to the boy. "Do you think I will have any special people?" Gaara asked in a desperate voice. "As far as I am concerned, you already have 3. Me, your first friend, and your siblings. Also, can you show me your seal? I should be able to strengthen it." Naruto said with a grin as Gaara's eyes widened when Naruto called him his friend. He then nodded before lifting his stomach, revealing a very poorly made 3-pronged seal. Who in their right minds made this fucking seal? It's a complete mess. No wonder Shikaku messes with you. This design most likely causes him a lot of irritation. Naruto said in a frustrated tone. He then raised 4 of his fingers from one hand and 3 from his other hand before slamming both of them into Gaara's stomach. It was an 7-pronged seal that was Naruto's personal creation. It was derived of his own seal. After he was done, a panting Naruto turned to a panting Gaara and asked, "How does it feel?" "I can't hear the voice anymore." "Thank you," Gaara said in an honest voice. "Don't sweat it. I made the seal that Shikaka won't be able to influence you, but you retain your ability with sand. Now I want you to go to my mom, she's the redhead in the stand, so that she can recheck your seal. She is an even more skilled sealer than me," Naruto said as he helped Gaara up. Gaara then turned to Genma and said, "I forfeit." Temari then jumped down along with Kankuro and shot Naruto a thankful look before taking him to Kushina so that she could check the new seal. Well, that was surprising to say the least. Winner of the fight, Karui of Kumo. The semi-finals will begin immediately. Will Temari of Suna and Naruto of Konoha please enter the arena? Genma announced as Karui left the field and Temari shouted. "Proctor, I forfeit." He was able to hold a freaking Biju long enough for it to be trapped in a genjutsu. "I am not strong enough to fight someone like him," Temari said as she helped Gaara into a seat. Genma sighed as he said, "Winner by forfeit, Naruto of Konoha. Will Karui and Samui of Kumo please enter the field?" "Proctor, I forfeit. I am out of chakra and am exhausted after that fight. I need a goddamn break," Karui said in an annoyed tone. "Ga fine. Will Samui of Kumo and Naruto of Konoha please come into the field?" Genma irritatedly announced. "In Kage box." Now that was interesting to say the least. Hiruzen said with a chuckle. "You got that right. I never would have imagined a Biju seal to be that weak. It was good we had 3 sealers here. Naruto once again caught me off guard. He is quite skilled at sealing," I commented. "Though the finals will be interesting. We get to see the feared lightning armor versus the frightful sage mode. I wonder who comes out on top." Orochimaru stoically said as he inwardly seethed. His plan A had failed because of the unexpected number of S-ranked Nins in the village. His plan B, which was to have Shikaka destroy the village, had been foiled by that blonde Namikaze brat who refined its seal. Now the only thing he could do was hope that the sealing arrays were ready. They would provide a perfect backup for them to leave. Since nearly all of his plans had been foiled and he still could get a Sharingan, he decided to sit back and enjoy the match that was about to start. Back with the fight. Naruto cracked his neck and revolved his shoulders, relaxing them before he unsealed his white blade and with a grin said, "Hey, looks like we are finally in the finals, Samui-chan." "It would seem so. But you better get ready to lose," Samui said with a smirk as she readied her own blade. Both of their eyes then hardened. Both of them had already decided that if they fought they would go all out and hold nothing back. Soon there was a strange tension that filled the air. Everyone was waiting with bated breath to see how this match would play out. Sensing the tension, Genma said start before he jumped out of the way. He was in no mood to get in between a fight of this magnitude. In bursts of speed both Naruto and Samui disappeared and soon voices of metal clashing were heard all around the stadium. Naruto, who was using the Itoryu, was fighting on par with Samui's cloud style. Both of them were moving at identical speeds. And weren't letting up in their assaults. Naruto used his superior physical strength and pushed Samui back before going on a full frontal attack using the different whirlpool style. Samui, who had just gotten used to the Itoryu, wasn't able to get her footing back and focused on dodging and defending against Naruto's slashes. Naruto then used a quick change of styles again and knocked Samui's sword out of her hand before kicking her into a wall. However, before she could crash into it, she masterfully manipulated her body so as to use the wall as a platform to jump on before propelling herself towards Naruto and slugging him hard on the face. Naruto staggered back a little before he resealed his sword and grinned. Both of them then nodded towards each other before they started going through head signs. "Storm release Eye of the Sky," Samui called out. "Spiral release Spiraling Spear Jutsu." A giant hawk made of a storm could flew towards Naruto only for it to be pierced by a spearic version of the Rasengan. The spear then went the hawk and into the air before Naruto made a hand sign and said Spiral release Spiral Spear Senbon Rain. As he said that, the spear broke into hundreds of small Senbon that attacked Samui at once. The wide area effect of the jutsu ensured that Samui wasn't able to dodge and got the full brunt of the attack, causing a small explosion and smoke to arise up from the point of contact. However, the smoke was soon cleared and Samui was seen standing with her lightning armor blazing in full glory. Naruto nodded again before he created a few clones and had them attack Samui. During the time they bought, Naruto closed his eyes and clasped his hands as he activated his Sage mode. He also activated his Sharingan since he would need it if he wanted to keep up with the blistering pace house that was the lightning armor. Naruto, using his eyes, was able to keep track of Samui's move and he was able to keep up with its strength and speed thanks to him being in Sage mode. The two of them were currently engaged in a taijutsu battle. Samui was superior in terms of speed, whereas Naruto was stronger and was reacting thanks to his reflexes. Punch after punch, kick after kick. It was seemingly an even match. However, all the S-rank nin there could already see that Naruto was the winner. Samui was tiring and her armor was slickly fluctuating around the corners. Naruto saw this and smirked. This was a great battle, he could feel the adrenaline coursing through him. He decided to reveal his final trick. Something that 2,000 clones working with the toads earned him. It was technique that his clones mastered as he learnt Senjutsu. His ultimate jutsu. Naruto then jumped back and took out a three-pronged kunai and is causing nearly everyone to freeze. "Naru-chan, did you master it?" Kushina thought as she felt a grin break out on her face. This Gaki is going to make waves," Jiraiya said with a smirk. Even though he hadn't trained Naruto, he couldn't help but feel proud and leave the post of Toad Sage to him. It was rightfully earned by him. "Go Naruto, show the world who you are. It's time to take flight, my young raven," Itachi thought as he looked on in pride. "Take flight, young one, the skies await you, it's time for you to let the will of fire burn through you," Hiruzen said as he had a proud smile on his face. In front of him was Boy, who despite only slight help had reached the level where he could hold his own against multiple opponents. "Wait, am I really going to see that move again? I never thought I'd see it again. Well, it seems a treaty with Konoha is definitely needed. Dealing with another Kuroi Senko will be problematic. I thought as he smirked maybe he and his surrogate daughter had a rival for their speeds in the young Namikaze. Shit. With that jutsu he will easily foil my summons. I guess it's better to let it be and regroup. Orochimaru thought. Most of the civilians looked on confused whereas all the senior shinobi including the clan heads waited with bated breath. Just as Naruto was about to throw the kunai Hisashi, Kushina, Jiraiya, Hiruzen, and Itachi all thought the same thing. It's coming, the rebirth of Konoha's Kuroi Senko. The thought as Naruto threw the kunai at a fast pace before the arena was engulfed in a yellow lightning-like flash. When the flash of light was gone, Naruto was seen standing over the unconscious body of Samui. Genma was soon pulled out of his stupor and grinned before announcing while shouting, "And we have a winner. The winner of the Chunin exams is Namikaze Naruto." As soon as finished, the crowd started cheering for the boy. Watching him successfully use the trademark jutsu of the Yondaime was enough evidence for them that he was indeed the legacy of the fourth. Naruto looked at the crowd in surprise. They were cheering for him. Suddenly he could feel tears coming into them. What was he feeling right now? Why was he crying? Then it occurred to him it was acceptance. Something he had craved, and now after 12 long years he had finally achieved it. He held the kunai tightly before he pumped his fist into the air. This action caused the crowd to cheer even loudly. Silently he was wiping his tears away from his eyes. This was his moment, and no way in hell was he let it going to be destroyed. He looked up at the sky and he whispered, "I did it too, San. Are you watching me?" At that moment he could have sworn he could seen a picture of Minato smiling at him from the sky. He then heard a soft voice that said, "I am proud of you, my Sochi." He looked around frantically looking for the source before he shook his head and looked up at the sky smiling. He then smiled before picking Samui up bridal style and taking her to the medic bay. Kage box. Now that is something I never expected to see again. You just had to have the strongest genin now Chunin in the elemental nations, didn't you? I jokingly asked. Indeed, you are lucky with this crop. There is war-winning talent right there. Orochimaru commented. What can I say, we got lucky this time round. But Reikage Dano, your daughter was nothing short of amazing. That amount of master with the lightning armor at her age is fantastic to say the least. Hiruzen replied. That's true. Now then we wait for a few moments before we announce the results. Orochimaru said. I agree with the other nominations, though I think both Samui and Naruto deserve a Tokubetsu Jonin rank. They are way too strong to be Chunins. I said as the other two Kage nodded. Stands. Naruken really outdid himself, didn't he? Kushina and Mikoto gushed. That he did. I never thought I'd see that move again. It was fantastic. Jiraiya stated with a smile. That is my student for you. Were there any doubts? Itachi asked smugly. As happy as I am that Nikon won, he sure does hit hard. Mito said as she rubbed her stomach where she had been hit during the match. No kidding, I will have him cook me ramen for hitting me. Narumi groaned back as the adults chuckled at the knuckleheads in front of them. So who do you think will get the promotion? Itachi asked. I think Narumi, Mito, Hinata, Shikamaru, and that Karui girl will be promoted to Chunin, while Naruto and Samui will more or less be promoted to Tokubetsu Jonin. That performance was way too high level to be put in by Genin. Mikoto replied as the others nodded. On the other hand, several clan heads were already talking among their councils in order to decide what to do with Naruto. The legacy of the Yondaime Hokage along with Jutsus of Hiroshin and Rasengan caliber had a lot of political weight. Nearly every clan decided to try and put him under the Clan Restoration Act and have him marry a girl from their clan. This was going to be the main topic of discussion in the next council meeting. With Daimyos. Who would have thought someone of his stature would be left behind legacy who was equally talented? The Wind Daimyo asked his counterparts. I wonder just what else he can do. What are you going to do, Shiro? The Lightning Daimyo asked his Fire Country counterpart. Now that he has revealed his identity, I don't doubt those hungry council members will try coercing him into marriages. Well, Minato, I may have failed in his upbringing, but I certainly won't fail him now. 2 years as a Gordian will do him a world of good and will give him a chance to stay away from the politics here. He and that Nara will make good additions. The Fire Daimyo thought before saying. Indeed, I wonder what else he can do. Though what I will do remains to be seen. The Fire de Mio replied. Back to the arena. All of the competitors were waiting in the arena for the final announcements of the day. Hiruzen then stepped forward and said, "Good afternoon everyone, I hope you enjoyed the matches. Me along with the other Kage have decided the candidates to be promoted. Will Hinata Hyuga, Mito and Narumi Uzumaki, Nara Shikamaru, and Karui please step forward?" All 5 of the aforementioned genin then stepped forward and patiently waited for the Hokage to continue. The Kazekage then stepped forward and continued. Orochimaru knew that his plan had been foiled, so it was no use trying anything. Now he had to continue the standard operating procedure without being caught. You 5 have shown exceptional skill, teamwork and planning, making you legible to become Chunin. Congratulations. Orochimaru said as he handed the genin their new vests. Will Samui and Naruto Namikaze step forward? Hiruzen called out. After both of them came ahead, I stepped forward. At the display of planning, skill and combat powers, we have decided to promote both of you to the rank of Tokubetsu Jonin. Also Naruto, as the winner of the exams, we have a special headband for you. I said as he handed both of them their new vests and Naruto received his new silver headband. It was then that the Fire de Mio stood up and said, I quite liked the display I was shown today, and it is because of that I wish to offer Namikaze Dano here a 2-year contract with the 12 Guardians. What do you say, Namikaze Dano? Everyone was shocked at this. If Naruto accepted the offer, he would become the youngest Guardian ever. The civilians, however, did not want him to leave since they thought he would be in danger. Naruto, on the other hand, was weighing the pros against the cons. If he did take the job, he would not only gain a lot of experience, good skills from the other Guardians, but also the favor of the Daimyo. Not to mention that he would finally be able to up his training for the next evolution of the Sharingan. In contrast, the only drawback is that he had to stay away from his loved ones. Naruto then looked at the Daimyo and said, I humbly accept the offer to become a Guardian Daimyo-sama. May I ask when I am expected to report in? Next month. I want you to relax and set your things straight before coming to the capital. Also Hiruzen, I will be taking my leave. It was very entertaining to watch these finals. The Fire Daimyo said as he and the other 2 Daimyo left. Naruto nodded and then along with the others left. He was intercepted by his mother, who said, Come on Naruto, we are celebrating your promotion, let's go. Naruto nodded before following her. Uzumaki Mansion. Jiraiya, Kushina, Mikoto, Itachi, Mito, Narumi and Naruto all were sitting in the lounge and were chatting, eating a little snacks and having a few drinks. Well Gaki, you really outdid yourselves. I can already see the council going bonkers on it. Jiraiya said as he took a swig from his sake bottle. Hey, it wasn't that much, Jiraiya-sama. I have been working on the move for nearly 7 to 8 years. I got it down thanks to Ma's help. I am really happy. It feels that I am NLW spiritually closer to Tsunade. Naruto replied with a smile. But Nikon, that was really impressive. You threw that kunai then whoosh in a yellow light and you took that Samui girl out in one hit. Narumi excitedly said. Yeah, Nai-chan, can you teach us? Asked Mito with the puppy eyes jutsu. He felt his defenses crumbling. Truth be told, he didn't want to teach the Hiroshin to anyone. It was a clan jutsu. And until he had kids he wouldn't give it away. Fortunately for him, Kushina came to his defense and said, you won't be able to learn it, girls, because that move requires you to be at least a level 8 master in space-time sealing. What you are doing is barrier style. Both of them grumbled but nonetheless agreed. It was then that Mikoto started hugging Naruto and saying, well Naruto-kun, how does it feel and what were you searching at the end of the fight? I am happy, Oba-chan. At the end of the fight I thought I heard Tsunade saying he was proud of me. I was looking for the source from where the sound came. Naruto answered as he smiled softly. Kushina looked at him in the corner of her eyes. She was slightly saddened that Naruto was more comfortable around Mikoto than herself, but knew that he would come around with time. They were interrupted when there was a knock on the door. Itachi went over and opened, revealing it to be his old teammate Anbu Cat, or also known as Yugugo Yuzuki. What's wrong, you? Asked Itachi. The advisors called for a council meeting. Namikaze Dano needs to be present. Yugugo answered before she disappeared into smoke. Itachi then sighed before going back in and telling everyone what had transpired. Everyone then shrugged before making their way to the council room. After everyone had gathered in the room, Hiruzen motioned Naruto to stand next to him before saying, "All right then Hamura and Koharu, why did you call the meeting?" "We would like to discuss Namikaze-sama's decision to join the 12 Guardians. We have decided that he should not go and should stay in the village. Also there is the issue to place him in the Clan Restoration Act since he is the last Namikaze." Hamura said. "Naruto, would you like to answer?" Hiruzen asked as Naruto nodded. "I would first like to say that I don't care what the council thinks about my decision to become a Guardian. And 2 regarding I already know of the Clan Restoration Act. But I won't take any of the girls you old fools have decided. I will only marry the girls I have feelings for and who feel for me." Naruto calmly answered. "You should reconsider this, Namikaze-sama." Koharu tried to reason. "And why should I see reason? What surprises me is that you still have the guts to show your face to me after what you did to my childhood. I won't be listening to anything that you say." Naruto snapped back. "Very well, then we shall let you go. However, will it be possible for you to teach your jutsus to our shinobi?" Danzo asked. "Rejected, they are clan secrets. I have no intention of giving them away. And don't assume you can let me do anything, Danzo Dano. My loyalties are with the Hokage, not with you or anyone else. I will protect this village just like my dad, but that doesn't mean I will suck up to you. You and your civilians want respect. Earn it first." Naruto stated. "Listen here, you brat." One of the civilian council members tried to say but was cut off when a gold chain went through his table. "You were saying?" Kushina sweatly asked, causing the shinobi to sweat drop while the civilians grumbled. Naruto then turned to the Hokage and said, "Gigi, I don't see why they are here. All of this discussion is shinobi related, so why are they here?" "You are right, Naruto. Anbu, please escort the civilians to the exit. This meeting is not yet over," Hiruzen said. The civilians grumbled as they were forced to leave. When they were gone, Naruto turned to Hiruzen and said, "So Gigi, 2 topics of the agenda, what's left?" "Well, Naruto-kun, there have been a few clans that are interested in marriage contracts with you," Hiruzen said. "I am sorry, Gigi, but I will have to reject all of them. Like I said, for the CRA I will marry, but only those who I have feelings for." Naruto answered as Hiruzen nodded. "You brat, those contracts will be good for the village." Danzo started but was once again cut off by Naruto, who said, "So what? What good has the village done to me that I should do good for it? The only thing I ever received from this village was hate and scorn. The only reason I am here is because of Gigi, Itachi-sensei, Mikoto Oba-chan, my mother, and my sisters. Don't forget that one eye it was because of you counselors my life was hell. We didn't do anything, you brat." Danzo snarled back. Naruto was beginning to piss him off. He was so much like his father, if he got any more power it would be dangerous for his place. As if I'd believe that. "Now is that all, Gigi?" asked Naruto. "Not quite, Naruto, the last thing is for us to vote on who the next Hokage should be. Being honest, I am too old for this. The options we have are Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Kushina. Who do you think should we choose?" Hiruzen asked. "I think we should choose Tsunade. She is the descendant of 2 Hokages and will be able to take the mantle for at least a few years before we'd need a new Hokage. Also during that time you could train Kushina Dano to take over until Tsunade retires." Naruto said. "That is a good idea. Any objections?" asked Hiruzen. When no one objected, Hiruzen looked at Jiraiya and said, "Jiraiya, you are to retrieve Tsunade, use any method necessary." Jiraiya nodded before leaving. After this, Naruto left and returned to his home. What surprised him was that Samui was waiting for him. "Samui-chan, what are you doing here?" Naruto asked, surprised to see his love interest. He thought she was already gone. "Naruto, I need to tell you something," she said. Naruto then nodded and opened the door and let her in. Both of were sitting next to each other. Both were staring at each other, both of them having a different set of thoughts. What does she want to talk about? Naruto thought but didn't press the issue on since he felt it was big as Samui wasn't someone who hesitated in saying things. At the same time Hiruzen and I along with Yujito and Itachi were watching the scene with a smile. The reason they were here was to discuss a political marriage involving Samui and Naruto. I had overheard Samui talking to Yujito about her feelings towards his rival's son before giving her his approval. She immediately rushed to Naruto to tell him how she felt. The time she had spent made her the happiest it had in years. I along with the Yujito reached Hiruzen's office where Itachi was waiting. I then revealed what had transpired and his wish to have a political marriage when both kids were of age. Hiruzen then immediately took out his lacrima so that they could see what was happening with the kids. Back with Naruto and Samui. Ugh, this is so uncool. Okay Samui, you can do it, kiss his cheek and then tell him. She mentally amped herself up before moving her face towards his cheek. Naruto felt her move and at that moment turned his head towards her. All of a sudden their lips connected with each other and electricity sparks spread around their bodies. Soon they broke away and Samui looked at him with wide eyes. I. She tried to explain but was cut off when Naruto placed a finger on her lips and said I love you. You were the first person my age who was not my family and accepted me. Truth is I fell for you when I first saw you from across the street. Samui smiled a true smile, a big one which was very uncharacteristic of her, and she then in a barely audible whisper said I love you too. All my life after my dad's death I kept myself reserved and cold. You somehow broke all my mental barriers and reached my heart. I fell for you after you rescued me from those wolves. Both of them then stared into each other's eyes and slowly and unknowingly both edged forward and then kissed. After that Naruto took her hand and led her to his room where they began their normal massage to talking routine. Instead of them separating they both slept together. It was after a very long time that both Samui Yatsuki and Naruto Uzumaki slept without the nightmares affecting their pasts. Naruto was ecstatic. He was being respected in the village. He had completed 2 of his dad's signature techniques. 3. He was now in a relationship with the girl he loved. He was also glad that his grandfather figure and sensei were both supportive of his choice. His aunt was little bumped out since he had rejected a contract with Sayuri but told him she didn't hold a grudge over it. His mother wasn't particularly happy because of her history with Kumo, but she soon gave in after seeing how happy both kids looked. He was also glad that the Raikage had expanded his stay for up to 1 week so as to discuss the terms and conditions for the peace treaty between the 2 villagers. The treaty was as follows: both Kumo and Konoha would be in complete peace. Trading would be promoted between the 2 villages. Military assistance will be provided in the case a village is attacked. Both villages would exchange 25 elemental jutsus each. The deal will be closed by the engagement of Naruto Namikaze and Samui Yatsuki, who would be the first of 5 of Naruto's wives. Currently we find Naruto enjoying a picnic with Samui. So Samui-chan, what do you plan to do next after you go back to Kumo? Oh, I am thinking of joining the 12 Lightning Guardians. Both me and Karui have been offered spots. What about you? Asked Samui. Just like you said. I will first regulate my clan work. Before allotting a representative who will handle my clan papers while I am gone. After that I will join the Fire Guardians on a 2-year contract. Who knows what I do after that? It kinda depends really. Naruto answered with a grin. Naruto, you'll not forget me if you find the other girls for your clan restoration act? Samui quietly asked. Naruto in response just lifted her up and placed her on his lap before kissing her on the lips. Samui was stunned for a moment before she reciprocated the kiss, and soon it turned into a full-on make-out session. They broke apart after a few minutes, after which Naruto touched his forehead with hers and said, "Does that answer your question?" Samui merely nodded and had a small blush on. As they were having their picnic date, Hiruzen was currently in a very hot-headed council meeting whose agenda once again was none other than Naruto. You can't let Namikaze Dano marry that Kumo Kunoichi Hokage-sama. We can easily provide someone better than her. Koharu argued as the rest of civilian council agreed with him, while apart from the Hyuga clan the other clans did not seem to have a problem with this arrangement. And why would I do that? Naruto himself stated that he will only marry the ones he loves provided they love him back. In this case it is there, which is why he accepted the arrangement. Hiruzen replied, his voice firm and not showing any emotion. Hiruzen, you are giving that brat way too much leverage. He should have to listen to you, not the other way around. Danzo said. That goes for you too, but it doesn't stop you from doing what you or the civilians want to do. Also, you made his life a living hell as a kid, now I will be favoring him over you. Hiruzen calmly replied, causing Danzo, Koharu, and Hamura to grit their teeth in frustration. Hokage-sama, I know that it's not my place to say, but why did you agree to this arrangement considering our history, Kumo? Hisashi asked. Well, for one, the previous incidents involving Kushina, your and Fugaku's daughters were ordered by the Sandame Reikage. The current Yondaime Reikage was an honorable man who, despite fighting Minato in Third Shinobi War, was a friend of Minato's. He apologized for the previous attempts and offered us very good terms of the treaty. Joining the treaty will solidify both villages. It's a perfect agreement. Also, if we keep holding on to the past, will hinder us in the future. I have already agreed to the treaty and, both me and I have already signed it. I was merely informing you of the treaty, not asking for your opinion. Hiruzen said with narrowed eyes. But Hokage-sama, what about the jutsus we have to give them? A civilian questioned. I will be giving them the jutsus from my library, so do not worry about that. Along what we are giving we are also receiving. This meeting is adjourned, no questions. Hiruzen said as he got up and left the room. As he left he rubbed his temples while muttering, I am getting too old for this shit. Jiraiya, bring Tsunade back already. Scene break. Naruto was at the Konoha gate to see off Samui, who was returning to Kumo. By Samui-chan, I will miss you. He said as he hugged Samui. I will miss you too. It's uncool without you. Samui said as she gave him a kiss on the cheek. I, who was watching from the distance along with Omoi and Karui, grinned before he bellowed. Samui-chan, any time now. He said in a sing-song time. Samui then hastily ran towards the Kumo group as they ran off towards Kumo. Well, who would have thought Samui could talk like that? Karui said in a teasing voice. Omoi immediately knew not to comment, as he knew an angry Samui is equivalent to an S-rank nuclear jutsu. Samui then coldly looked at Karui, which caused the red head to shimmer down. Samui then said, talk about it to anyone and I will show you pain. Karui nodded hastily. I and Yujito inwardly chuckled at the scene in front of them. The next few years were going to be very interesting, to say the least. Scene break. Naruto was in the Uzumaki clan's training ground where he wanted to try a new version for the Hiraishin. His father had reached level 2 multi-step but wasn't able to touch level 3. Naruto, thanks to his notes, had gotten 1 and 2 down easily, and he had a fair idea of how he wanted the third step to be. For secrecy he asked his mother to use her private training ground, something she easily agreed to, and was glad that he sought her for help. She then, as asked, created 500 clones and waited for Naruto to do what he wanted to. Naruto jumped when the clones were ready and threw the kunai at the clones before he made a ram sign. Then kunais multiplied into 100 before spreading around the clones. As soon as they landed, Naruto disappeared in a yellow flash. In seconds all of the clones were history, and he was seen standing in the center of the field with a victorious smirk on his face. He turned to his mother, who was looking him with her mouth agape and her eyes wide. Naruto smirked before moving up to her and pushing her mouth close. You'll catch flies that way, Ka-chan. He said, and brought her out of her shock-induced stupor. She then immediately brought him into a hug and excitedly said, my son is going to be the next Hokage Databane. I am so proud of you, Databane. What are you going to name Step 3 Databane? Naruto, being as excited as she was at that moment, in a similar manner answered, I am going to be the Hokage Databeo. Thank you, Ka-chan Databeo. I am thinking of calling it Hiraishin Level 3 Flash Step Databeo. That's nice, Databane. What are you doing next? Asked Kushina. I was going to visit Gigi to decide who will represent me during the council meetings while I am gone. And then I need to move into the Namikaze estate and transfer all of the money into my account. After that I guess spend time around the village before leaving in 2 weeks' time. Naruto answered after thinking. How about you have lunch before leaving? I will cook. Kushina asked. Sure, I haven't eaten with you alone in ages. By the way, where are Narumi and Mito? Naruto asked. They are out with Hinata and other clan heiresses. Kushina answered as the mother-son duo walked back into the main house. She noticed that Naruto had tensed a little on the mention of Hinata. She didn't ask him about it as he then said. Ka-chan, next time you talk to Hinata, ask her why she used the seal on Niji. She said she wanted to unite the clan, but her actions speak otherwise. Alright Sochi, I will. But for now let's eat. She said as Naruto happily nodded following her. Scene break. After his lunch with his mother, Naruto was casually walking down the street towards the Hokage Tower to discuss the 3 agendas on his mind. On the way there, many civilians stopped by and greet him before asking him for his forgiveness. He just shrugged and told all of them that it was now water under the bridge and not something that needed to be concerned upon. Due to the number of stops, it took him a good 15 minutes later before he reached the Hokage Tower. Entering it, he saw Mina and greeted her saying, "Ohayou Mina ne-chan, how are you?" "I am fine my little Naru-chan, how can I help you today?" Mina teasingly asked back, knowing Naruto would take the bait. "Hey, I am not little anymore, I am a Tokubetsu Jonin now," he said with a huff. "Oh, you could be the Hokage, but you would still be little old Naru-chan to little old me." "Now what are you doing here?" asked Mina. "Oh, here to see the Hokage to discuss my clan head status and whatnot." "I will see you later Mina ne-chan," Naruto said as he pecked his older sister figure on cheek before running up to the Hokage. He kicked open his door just like usual and entered with a shout of Gigi. Hiruzen merely opened his arms and hugged the blonde ball of sunshine back with a chuckle. "So Naruto, what can I do for you?" asked Hiruzen. "Gigi, I was wondering if you'd be willing to represent me council meetings until I turn 16, will you?" asked Naruto. "I don't really see a problem with it. I have been taking care of your clan for a while now because Minato left me to look after it," Hiruzen said. "Alrighty, I will leave everything to you, but when I return I will take over. Anyways Gigi, could you give me some elemental jutsus for wind, water and lightning? Preferably A to S rank. The library and shops have useless jutsus." Naruto asked with his all-time famous puppy eyes jutsu. Hiruzen felt himself crumbling under the might of the puppy eyes jutsu. He would normally have been against a 13-year-old using moves of that rank, but he lost against the puppy eyes and finally gave in. "Alright, I will give you the jutsus when you will be leaving for the fire capital. Consider it as an assignment to master them by the time you need to return," Hiruzen answered as Naruto hugged him before thanking him and leaving. The next day, we find Naruto and Aizen sparring in the Sarutobi household's training grounds. They were currently engaged in taijutsu match. "So Naruto, when were you going to tell me about the fox?" Aizen asked, catching Naruto off guard before hitting him with a monkey barrage and sending him crashing into the floor. "How do you know about that, Aizen?" Naruto groaned out as he stood up. I heard Dad and Gigi talking about it, but I didn't have a chance to ask you about it," Aizen lazily replied. "I see, so what do you think?" asked Naruto. "Nothing different, I have known you for too long to alter my view of you. To me, Shino and Yakumo, you will always be the same smart blonde baka. What I want to know is whether you were going to tell us or no," Aizen asked. "I was going to leave letters for the 3 of you telling my secrets to you. I was afraid of rejection, which is why I avoided telling you guys face to face," Naruto somberly said. "Well, I know what you mean. But know this, you have always had our sport and that will stay even when we become clan heads," Aizen said. Naruto smiled a true smile before saying, "Well, on to round 2. I thought you'd never ask," Aizen said as they both charged at each other in a battle that completely thrashed the training ground. Scene break. Naruto had met up with most of his friends and still had a week to waste before he had to leave for the fire capital. He was lazily walking on the street wondering what he should do when he was tackled onto the ground by 5 blurs. Groaning, he saw that the blurs were none other than Mito, Narumi, Konohamaru, Moegi and Udon. He also noticed that another Hyuga around the same age as Konohamaru Core was stoically looking at the scene. "What's up guys?" Naruto said as he sat up. "You haven't been spending any time with us and you leave in a week. Don't tell me you intend to leave without spending time with us." Narumi said as the four others strongly nodded their heads. Chuckling, he pulled all of them into a group hug before patting their heads. He then stood up and said, "Alrighty then, how about this? I will spend the rest of the week with the 6 of you." "By the way, who is that?" he asked, pointing at the Hyuga. "I am Hanabi Hyuga, the youngest of Hisashi Hyuga and the sister of Hinata Hyuga." "Who are you, peasant?" she arrogantly said. The twins and the Konohamaru Corps were worried about how Naruto would react, but they calmed down when he burst out laughing. He then went over to Hanabi and patted her head before saying, "So you are a firecracker." Hanabi blushed red before snapping away at his hand before saying, "How did you beat my Ne-chan?" she demanded. "Now that would be telling, wouldn't it?" Naruto said with a smirk. "Tell me how you beat my Ne-chan along with her team. They are the best genin team in Konoha," she demanded again. "It's pretty simple. I was stronger than the 3 of them," he said. "How did you become so strong?" asked Hanabi. "I trained my cute little firecracker," Naruto replied as he patted her head again. "My name is Hanabi, not Firecracker," she snapped with a blush. "Whatever, you will always be my little firecracker to me. Now then everyone, let's go to my place. I will cook you something," Naruto said as he grabbed Hanabi's hand and led all of them to his place. Hanabi for one didn't remove his hand. It felt strangely warm. Is this what Konohamaru and the others were talking about when they talked about a big brotherly feeling? I like it, it feels safe, she thought. "Ni-chan, will you show us the jutsu you used in the finals?" Udon asked, causing everyone else to look at him with puppy eyes. Fine, I will show you my Flying Thunder God, and also a lightning jutsu that I like," Naruto said, causing all of them to jump excitedly. At Naruto's home. "Okay then everyone, what do you want to eat? Tell me now and I shall serve," Naruto said. "Ramen," both Mito and Narumi shouted. "Tempura," said Moegi. "Pasta," said Udon. "Rice with seasoning," Konohamaru said. After that everyone looked at Hanabi waiting for her response. She looked slightly annoyed before saying, "What? What do you want, my little firecracker?" "I am cooking, so let me know," he finished with a smirk as her stomach grumbled. "Ugh, fine then, Onigiri," she said with a humph. Naruto nodded before he took out an apron and got to work in the kitchen. An hour later 6 clones appeared and set the food on the table as Naruto walked out wiping while his hands. He then called all of them and said, "Alright guys, food is ready, come and get it." The 6 guests soon joined in on the table and began to eat. Like always, all of them ate it at a blistering pace. Hanabi didn't really understand why her friends were acting that way. She then proceeded to take a bite of her onigiri. As soon as the first bite touched her tongue, she was sent over the edge because of the flavor. It felt oddly familiar. Unknowingly she increased her eating pace and remembered something that she hadn't in a very long time. The warm touch of a mother. Hitomi dies 4 years after Hanabi's birth. So she has a few memories of her. As soon as she finished she felt her eyes tear up, and with teary eyes she asked, "Why does your cooking have the same feeling my mom's cooking used to have? Answer me." Naruto understood what she meant, so did everyone else. They all had a similar reaction when Naruto cooked for them. He placed his bowl on the table and calmly asked, "When was the last time some actually cooked for you without a sense of duty?" Hanabi thought about it. She had chefs at the compound, but they were paid to cook. No one had cooked her favorite onigiri for her since her mother's death. She swallowed hard before saying, 4 years. The last person to properly cook for me was my mother." Naruto smiled sadly. She was one who was forced to grow up early. She may have had people looking after her, but most of it was without love. She didn't know the love of a father because the deaths of his brother and wife had greatly affected him. His sister, in Naruto's opinion, was as stuck up as her father. Doing what he thought was best, he stood up and gave her a hug. He then said, "Hey, how about this? You become my youngest sister and I become the brother you never had. I will be someone you can share anything with. How about that?" Hanabi slightly cried before she nodded into the hug. Naruto lovingly smiled at his new sister before looking at the others. The Konohamaru Corps were smiling while Mito and Narumi looked slightly jealous. He slightly chuckled at the scene before opening his arms and calling all of them into a big hug. Hanabi smiled a little, maybe having a big brother wasn't so bad after all. Over the week Naruto had mainly been spending time with Hanabi. He found her to be a sweet little girl once she opened up to someone. She had interests in things that girls her age liked but wasn't given a chance before because of her clan training. Naruto took it upon himself to make sure she doesn't grow up to be a sticky hyuga and bought her the things she liked. She had grown a lot closer to Naruto and had even started calling him Nai-chan. Currently we see Naruto with all his things packed ready to run to the fire capital. All his precious people were there to see him off. Even Tsunade, who had become Hokage a couple of days ago. Bye bye boss, by the time you come back we three will be genin. Count on it. Konohamaru said as he and his other two friends cried while they hugged Naruto. Naruto patted their heads before saying, I have no doubt you will remember to take your training and studies. I will come back to test you, okay? The three genin nodded before they stepped back. Naruto then hugged all three of his sisters and said, I will miss you guys. Do well on the training trip with Jiraiya, Mito, Narumi. Hanabi, I will write you letters every week, don't forget to tell me everything, okay? Hi Nai-chan. All three of them said as they broke the hug. Naruto then turned to Anko and Mina, hugging them tightly before saying, I will miss you Nei-chans. I will miss you too Naru-chan/Gaki. Both of them replied as they wiped the tears that were in their eyes. Itachi stepped forward next and said, I can't begin to tell you how proud I am, Naruto. You have gone well ahead of my expectations and have become not only a great shinobi but also an outstanding person. Here, take this scroll, it has some of my personally created genjutsus and ninjutsus, learn them well. Naruto hugged his older brother figure and said, thank you Nissen. Just you wait, by the time I come back I will be strong enough to beat your ass into the ground. I will be waiting, Otuto. Itachi said as he ruffled Naruto's head. Naruto then turned to Hiruzen, who handed him a scroll and said, what you asked me, Naruto. Use this time to develop yourself, come back as a raging fire that will protect Konoha. Count on it, Gigi. Naruto said as he hugged his grandfatherly figure before turning to his godparents. Good luck out there, Gaki. I am sorry I wasn't there for you when you were a kid. Jiraiya said as Tsunade nodded. Oh, don't worry about it, Jiraiya-sama. Tsunade-sama, what happened is now under the bridge. Naruto said as he shook hands with them before hugging a sobbing Mikoto. Naruto was like a son to her, seeing him leave for a long time was painful to her to say the least. He soothingly rubbed her back before breaking the hug and turning to his mother. After a long goodbye with his mother, Naruto finally turned and ran away with two escorting Anbu. Not to be seen for the next 3 years.